Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the Weekend Walkthrough, where I take a look at this past weekend's Premier League matches from a fantasy Premier League perspective. And I'm sorry for this video coming out on the Tuesday rather than the normal Monday that I usually post it on, but I decided to spend some time with my family this weekend. I was going to travel home late Sunday night, but I was just like, it's super late. I just had dinner. Barcelona was on TV. So I just delayed it because we are in an international break anyway. So I kind of have to spread the content around a little bit. So I'm just going to have this video here on the Tuesday, the weekend walkthrough, talking about the past weekend's fixtures. And then on Thursday, you're going to get another edition of the FPL Scope podcast with me and Kevin. It's going to be a bit of a different podcast this time around because we obviously have an international break. So we have another podcast next week. So we'll probably recap this past weekend's scores in FPL. And talk about a little more stuff. Maybe some of the new transfers joining FPL in the transfer deadline and stuff, and just take a little bit of a breather and talk about the first 4 game weeks and what we learned so far and stuff before we delve into what we do in the future in next week's FPL Scope podcast. So yeah, for this week, basically only going to be 2 videos. It's this one that you're watching right now, the weekend walkthrough, and then on the Thursday, the FPL Scope podcast. And then next week, I'll have a full slate of videos. I'll actually do. The Tuesday video next week will be sort of more like a deep dive into some different topics that I want to discuss. Some things that I will actually talk about in this video a little bit as well. How like a talisman versus like a focal point makes a difference when it comes to playing against difficult teams. I'll explain it better in the future. But either way, this is the weekend walkthrough where I'm going to take a look at what happened this past weekend in terms of the Premier League matches in FPL. And I have actually tried to record this video before, but the sound was struggling. The sound didn't really work, so yeah, I'm doing it for a second time. So I'm trying to be a bit more succinct and talk a little bit less about each game. Just try to highlight like the most important things from each game. So let me know if you like that or if you miss the old format for this video where I just basically talk for about 5 or 6 minutes about each game pretty much. I'm going to try to keep it a bit more brief. So first match is the Friday match between Luton and West Ham, and this was the first match where West Ham actually played a team that are playing more defensive than them, because usually West Ham is the team that soak up the pressure and counter and score that way. But against Luton, West Ham were the favorites. It was top versus bottom after all, and West Ham managed to do pretty well actually. Like they got the goal pretty early on, a Bowen header from a Paqueta across. Really nice build-up from Edson Alvarez, by the way, who has looked really good, but not in FPL really because he's a defensive mid. But yeah, Paqueta to Bowen. Bowen has been a decent FPL option. He's been one of the best midfielders so far. And yeah, West Ham have some tough fixtures now, but he's definitely someone you should pay attention to when West Ham's fixtures turn pretty soon in the season. Or not pretty soon, but yeah, around like game week 9, along with several other teams. But yeah, that was the opening goal for West Ham. And yeah, it was a pretty even game. Not that many chances, to be honest. And then second half, yet another nice corner from James Ward-Prowse. He has already proven his worth so far for West Ham. Crosses it in the box and Suma headers home 2-0. At that point, it seems like West Ham are going to win the match easily, but Luton get a goal back. They basically lump it forward and Anderson scores a goal. And then finally, there was a penalty decision where the ball hits the elbow of James Ward-Prowse as James Ward-Prowse was jumping up trying to header the ball. Completely misjudged it, and the ball landed on his elbow and went just straight past him. So it went to Cornet, who cleared it, shouts for handball, but VAR let it go as well. Personally, I'm obviously biased as I am a West Ham fan, but I think there should be a minimal, like there should not be that many handballs given at all. I feel like in general. Usually handballs are just incidental, like just pure bad luck, really. I mean, there are some situations where there's clearly like someone making themselves bigger trying to block a pass or anything like that, where they get their arm in a really unnatural position, because it's not unnatural. I'm doing motions. It's not unnatural to move your arms when you're sliding, tackling, or moving your legs or anything like that. So you got to take it into context. But I feel like there should be a pretty high bar for you to decide that it's a handball. You have some clear cases like Henry against Ireland and like Suarez against Ghana, where obviously it's a handball. But yeah, I think it should be kept to a minimum, and I don't think this should have been a penalty. And I think that's pretty much how it should be across the board. Like rarely should a handball or like or shouts for handball turn into an actual penalty for handball, because it's such a massive disadvantage to get penalties against for basically a nothing issue, because the ball in this case was going past Prowse anyway. Like, the ball didn't really change its trajectory either. It just went further to Kudus. It wouldn't have gone to anyone else either way. So yeah. Either way, West Ham get the win after all. Decent points for Bowen. They also had a goal disallowed where Antonio was barely offside when Emerson Palmieri scored. Emerson is also someone you should keep note of in FPL because he's really attacking. He's one of those wingers or fullbacks who plays sort of like a winger at times. There's a lot of those this season, actually, which I think is a quite interesting thing that I'm going to talk about in the video next week as well. But yeah, that's the West Ham match. Next matchup is Sheffield United against Everton, and what is notable here is the new strikers for each team. Cameron Archer, who scored a goal and got the assist for the own goal for Pickford. For Sheffield United, a 4.5 striker. We actually have our 4.5 main guy to have, and that is Cameron Archer. He's currently in my team. I had him from the start of the season because I sort of saw this Sheffield United transfer coming, but the way he looked for Sheffield United against Everton was really, really, really good. Especially the first goal that they had, the 1-1 equalizer, where it was really nice from McBurney. A cross goes into to the box for McBurney. He takes it down beautifully, passes it back to Archer, who just easily slots it home, top corner. And then Archer, later on in the game, cuts in, shoots, hits the post, the back of Pickford, and into the goal again. So Archer looks really good, but for Everton, even though he didn't get any assists or goals this game, I think Beto or Betch or however you say his name, I think he looks fantastic. Like, he looks like a handful for any team to deal with, really. He held up the ball really well, made really good decisions, made really good passes and stuff. So he was one of the best players on the pitch. But his expected goal numbers and his points or assist numbers, or points or assists, doesn't really tell you that story. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have Danjuma, who has the highest non-penalty expected goal involvement in the whole game, and he scored a goal. But he looked kind of bad. Like, he had some pretty poor decisions and stuff. So yeah, FPL and real life players is quite different, and stats don't always tell the whole picture. Because Danjuma had a really poor game and Beto had a really good game, but the stats don't tell you that story. But either way, 2-2 in the end. Doucouré also looked pretty good for Everton again. 2-2, once again, Everton kind of struggling, but I think Everton will be fine. They have so many good players. Beto is one of them. McNeil is back now from injury. Jack Harrison is coming back from injury. They have so many good players coming back from injury as well. So I think Everton will be fine eventually this season. Brentford-Bournemouth, kind of a surprising fixture, or result at least, because most people thought Brentford would take this home pretty easily. Bournemouth have not looked that good so far, and Brentford have looked really good. And to be honest, Brentford really should have won this game. They created a lot of big chances. They took the lead as well with Jensen from a free kick, but Bournemouth turned it around. 2 really nice goals. Solanke near post, nice shot. That Flecken could have saved maybe if he was ready for the near shot or near post shot. And then Brooks had a really nice goal in the second half. Beautiful touch to take it past the defender and just scored it easily. Welcome back for Brooks. I've said that a couple times now, but he actually scored a goal now in the league, which is really big for him. He was such a good player in the past before his health issues, and now he's back fully healthy, and it's really nice to see him playing super well. Like, he is someone who could potentially move to like a Big 7 club eventually. Brentford, as always, Mbuemo, you can never count him out. He missed a huge chance early in the game, but towards the end of the match, perfect turn with the ball. Really lovely skill from Mbuemo to get him clear on goal. 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, made no mistake, scored a 2-2 goal. Got even more points for all the people that have him in their fantasy team, like me. And yeah, we're really happy about Mbuemo because he plays 90 minutes, he's on penalties, he's on free kicks. He plays as a striker sometimes. It's basically just a perfect midfielder pick, especially for the price that he is. I think it's 6.8 now, and that's still a bargain. So Mbuemo, for as long as Tony is out, and that is until next year, he's going to be a great pick. So he's one of those at least half-season keepers for me. So yeah, well done for Brentford. They got a point in the end at least. You expected 3, but yeah, Bournemouth are also not the worst side. I think Bournemouth will come good eventually. They made some interesting signings at the deadline as well. And they made some interesting signings in the whole window. I think they had a really good transfer window in general. So yeah, Bournemouth, not the best team to target, to be honest, going forward. But yeah. Chelsea and Nottingham Forest, this was the real big surprise this game week. Especially Chelsea, a lot of people disappointed with Nick Jackson. I know a lot of people slated him last game week against Luton in the first half, and I kind of defended him back then. But this game, it's kind of harder to defend Jackson. He missed that big chance that Sterling set up for him in the second half. He basically just rushed it and went to the ball too quickly and couldn't get a proper hit on it and hit it straight over the bar as well. Jackson. Really nice setup by Sterling, who looked good once again. He had another good shooting chance, Sterling. So I think Sterling will still be good. I brought him in this game week for a hit, which ended up being bad, but I think Sterling looked really good. But Jackson, he missed that chance. He had another pass into the box where he received it, just made a poor touch and couldn't really finish it. So yeah, Jackson kind of struggling at the moment, but I don't know. He has good underlying numbers and stuff, so yeah, he's still a good, decent pick. But Nottingham Forest ended up winning the game. Elanga scored the winning goal. Poor mistake from Caicedo, the £115 million man who had a really heavy touch, lost the ball. Forest broke, with their pressing, won the ball back. Awoniyi gets the ball, puts a perfect pass to Elanga, who basically just passes it past Sanchez in the Chelsea goal. So nice goal for Forest, and they managed to keep the clean sheet. One of the few teams that got a clean sheet this game week. And they ended up with 3 points. So they have 6 points from the first 4 fixtures when they faced Man United, Arsenal and Chelsea. So hats off to Forest for getting a result once again. Next up we have Man City against Fulham, and finally Alvarez gets his points. Last game week he got only 2 points, even though he had a huge chance. He created a penalty that Haaland missed, and he had another big chance towards the end of the game where he missed as well. But this time around he took his chances really well. Alvarez, he scored the opening goal for City after they struggled a bit in the opening. Not sure if it was a cross or a shot from Haaland, but it went to Alvarez, who scored the opening goal. Fulham strike back immediately. Team Ream popping up at the back post and scoring, which he tends to do sometimes. So yeah, City still concede stupid goals, but it didn't really matter. They scored a 2-1 goal where Ake heads it, and it goes past Akanji, who is clearly offside. No denying that. And he's clearly interfering with play, in my view, as well. Sort of like jumping when the ball goes towards him, but he also tries to kick it. So Leno kind of hesitates with his dive, and that gives the ball just enough space for it to go past Leno. Definitely should have been corrected with VAR, but for some reason VAR once again made a pretty massive mistake and let the goal stand. So 2-1 for Man City right before the half, which was kind of, I guess you wouldn't say underserved because City were the better team, but Fulham defended pretty well the first half. But in the second half, floodgates were open. Alvarez sort of returned the favor to Haaland, had a pass towards Haaland that was almost intercepted by the Fulham defender. But yeah, the pass was definitely intended for Haaland, and it went to Haaland without much interference from the Fulham defender, so he should have been credited with an assist. Didn't get credited with the assist straight away, which made me kind of mad because I have Alvarez in my team personally. But Haaland scored it, no assist given, but pretty soon after, Alvarez wins a penalty, and this time Haaland actually converts it. So he finally got this assist, and then a few minutes after that again, Alvarez actually got credited with the assist for the 3-1 goal. So 2 assists and 1 goal for Alvarez, really good. Haaland manages to score a hat-trick after a really nice setup from Sergio Gomez towards the end of the match. So huge haul for Man City players. Even Foden got an assist for the Ake goal. Foden didn't have the best numbers this game, but he still looked really good and still a really interesting pick. He played on the left once again rather than Grealish, which is going to be the case several times. So I think both Foden and Alvarez are going to be pretty good for minutes. So yeah, as someone who has both currently in his FPL team, sitting pretty with those guys. I feel like those guys will play quite a few matches, and City will keep winning matches like 5-1, even though they don't have the best of matches. So yeah, Fulham kind of helpless without Palhinha, as I've written. Palhinha was on his way to Bayern, but the transfer was off right before the deadline, so Palhinha wasn't ready for this game, and he's going to be sorely needed for Fulham because they are a completely different team with and without him. So he showed that against Arsenal last time when they got a draw, and now they lost big time against Man City with Palhinha out. So yeah, he's definitely needed for Fulham. Another team to target this season is going to be Burnley. Like, we haven't talked about this enough, but Burnley have looked really poor defensively, and now they conceded 5 goals against Spurs despite scoring their opening goal. They look really naive going forward, and what worked for them in the Championship is clearly not working for them in the Premier League. So yeah, they don't look good at all. And Spurs, on the other hand, looked fantastic under Ange Postecoglou. And now Son got to play as a striker, and he returned with a hat-trick for Spurs, which is amazing for him. So Maddison got a goal as well. He only got the 7 points, but Maddison is he's still shown that he is a really good pick. Dustin Udogie got the assist for Maddison as well, which was nice for him because he got 2 goals conceded, so he didn't get the clean sheet, but at least he gets the attacking points. Udogie. But yeah, Spurs in general just look really, really good. Son with a hat-trick up front. He's going to keep playing up front now, and he is like the main guy to get currently in FPL. Especially seeing as in Game Week 8, Man City have a really tough fixture against Arsenal away, and Spurs have Luton. So that's one of those game weeks where you can actually captain someone other than Haaland. You can actually go with Son as captain against Luton rather than going with Haaland as captain away against Arsenal. So Son is definitely someone you should consider, especially seeing as Spurs have Sheffield United in their next game. They do have tougher fixtures against Arsenal and Man United. Not Man United. Arsenal and Liverpool, I guess it is, after that. But Son has proven that he can score in big games. He was the Golden Boot winner 2 seasons ago, so we know he can score a lot of goals. He had hamstring issues last season that sort of held him back. The Conte, Mason, Stellini sort of coach thingy also held him back, but now he has a really good coach. He's playing as a striker. He's probably on pens. So Son just looks like an amazing pick for FPL currently as a striker. So definitely someone you should look to get into your team. Then we have another player you should potentially consider, and that is Evan Ferguson, who scored a hat-trick for Brighton. And I know the numbers, like the expected goal numbers, are pretty even here between Brighton and Newcastle, which kind of surprises me because Brighton were kind of in control of this game from start to finish. They were leading 3-0 up until like right before the final whistle, but then Wilson stepped up and scored to make life worse for me and all of us that have faith in Estepinian still. And I think all of us that have faith in Estepinian still are in the right, because I think those people that benched Estepinian or even sold him are completely in the wrong, because he's, even at 3-0 towards the end of the half, or towards the end of the match, he was still bombing forward, trying to get assists and goals. So sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes they're going to keep the clean sheet and he's going to get a goal on top of it and the bonus points. And that's going to lead to 15 points, potentially more for Estepinian. And he can even get clean sheets, because that's another lesson to take from this weekend. Good teams, even though they're bad defensively, can keep clean sheets against other good teams, because they can just dominate the other team and don't really concede that many chances and still get away with having a pretty poor defense and get a clean sheet. So yeah, Estepinian, just start him every single game week. That is my plea to you. I think that is the best way going forward. Ferguson once again looked good for Brighton. He only costs 5.9, so he's a really good player to target. Mitoma still looks decent. João Pedro did not have the best match, and with Ansu Fati coming in now, I think João Pedro's minutes is going to be pretty much non-existent. So yeah, just stay away from João Pedro. I think Ferguson potentially might get pens as well with João Pedro off the pitch. So yeah, Ferguson is definitely someone to pay attention to. When it comes to Newcastle, they looked kind of tired already, which is strange because they haven't even played in the Champions League yet. They already have a pretty thin squad. Botman was out with an injury. Fabian Schär had to go off with an injury as well. So even though their fixtures have turned around a bit now, they've had really tough fixtures at the start of the season, and now they have pretty easy fixtures coming up after playing Brentford now in Game Week 5, which is still a tough fixture for me. But yeah, Game Week 6 onwards, they have really good fixtures, but I'm not so sure who I want from Newcastle, because Isak and Wilson is still the same issue. They still play half and half, or 60-30, or 45-45. They still share the minutes as the striker for Newcastle, so until one of them gets injured, I'm not really interested in either of them, really. Same goes for the left-hand side with Gordon or Barnes playing at the same position. Not really anything interesting there. The midfielder's not that interesting. Tonali maybe has 5.5 differential, but doesn't score enough goals for midfielders, where we have so many good midfielders this season. And then defensively, maybe once Botman and Schär are back, they'll look better, but I think for the past 20 games in the Premier League, they've conceded 15 plus of them, I think, something like that. So defensively, they don't even look that good either. And Trippier is 6.5, which is super expensive, and I'm not so sure if he's even that good anymore in terms of FPL compared to last season. We know they had a clean sheet last game week until the very end, where they conceded late. And even when they had a clean sheet, Trippier was not on bonus at all. So I don't think Trippier is as good of an asset last season, and especially considering the price, I'm not even that sure about him. So in general, I feel like Newcastle is a team to still kind of stay away from until they prove something, or until their striker situation has been resolved or anything like that. So yeah, Newcastle kind of want to stay away. Brighton, even though they have tough fixtures, can easily still get their players, because Brighton can beat any team in the league. They're that good offensively. The Serbi is that much of a tactical genius that Brighton players are still viable going forward. Even if you have Mitoma still, I think he's someone you could potentially keep, unless there's a really good chance for you to go to someone like Son or something like that. So yeah, Brighton, thumbs up. Newcastle, thumbs down for this fixture. Next up, we have Liverpool against Aston Villa, and once again, we get the proof that when you have a good team that are bad defensively, you can still get a clean sheet against a tough opposition as long as you just destroy the opposition you have, because Liverpool were clearly the best team against Aston Villa. That's also reflected in the expected goal numbers. So yeah, Liverpool, they don't have the best defense, but it doesn't really matter. They can just attack, what is it? The best form of defense is attack, I guess. So yeah, that's what Liverpool did. They looked a lot better with Darwin as a striker and Salah as Salah on the wing. He looks better as well, Salah, with a proper striker in front of him, because Salah should have had several assists in this game. He served up Darwin at 2 separate occasions, like really well. First one, Darwin hit the post. This was obviously after the Szoboszlai opening goal where Trent got an assist, but for the 2-0 goal, Salah passed it to Darwin. He only had to slot it home, but he shot it into the post, and he went into Medicash. He scored an own goal. So no assist for Salah there. And then in the second half, he crossed it for Darwin, who headed it wide, even though he was really close to the goal and had an open net to score in as well. But at least Darwin repaid him when he headed it to Salah for the 3-0 goal on the corner. Salah, like I mentioned in last week in walkthrough, he's so good at noticing where the ball is going to end up. That's one of the reasons why he's always been such a good FPL pick, and he proved his worth this time. Scored a goal, got 8 points in FPL, consistently just churning out points. After the first half, I was kind of, because I have Salah in my own team, after the first half, I was kind of like, maybe I should sell him since Son is looking so good now. But now I'm looking into ways to get Son and have Salah still as well, while still having Haaland, which is going to be a difficult thing to manage. But yeah, there is a case to be made to potentially sell Haaland around giving 9 or 10, because you could have like Salah, Son, and Trent looking fantastic at the same time. So maybe in giving 9 you have to sell Haaland to get those 3 players in. But yeah, that's something we have to worry about in the future, not now really. But yeah, Aston Villa didn't really look good at all. They also struggle against Newcastle, so maybe they have like a big team complex, I guess. Maybe they struggle with top sides. They obviously looked pretty decent, but yeah, didn't really get the most chances to score. Watkins blanked for the first time this season. Not sure if you should keep him currently, especially with the players that they have, or players that you have in attack this season, with the likes of Ferguson and Alvarez at least stepping up lately. Not sure if Watkins is someone you should keep either, but yeah. Easy win for Liverpool, 3-0 against Aston Villa. Then we have Crystal Palace against Wolverhampton, and this was the breakout game for Eze, who I sold for a hit for Sterling. And yeah, I know a lot of people, FPL people, whether it's content creators or people on Twitter, you've heard this thing time and time again, and the reason that I did this transfer is because if I didn't do it, I would be locked out of doing or of getting Sterling. And I really wanted Sterling for this match, but especially for the Bournemouth match next game week, because Sterling is so good against Bournemouth usually. So yeah, that's why I did the move. I sort of forced -4 hit, even though Eze had Wolverhampton at home, and that proved to be the wrong decision. So yeah, if there's any lesson you should take from that, it's the fact that you shouldn't take a hit to swap out a player with a really good fixture. Like, that never works out. I did it last season as well, sorta, with Kane to Darwin when Kane had Crystal Palace and scored several goals. So yeah, I think I've learned my lesson now. I should not sell players for a hit when they have good fixtures. But yeah, Eze finally repaid his patient owners. He got a goal, so he ended up at 8 points. It looked like he was going to get 10 points, going to get all 3 bonus points, but then Edouard scored the 3-1 goal for Crystal Palace, and then Wolverhampton scored a 3-2 goal with Cunha scoring a header from a Neto assist. Neto actually had 2 assists this game, so he had an assist last game as well. So Neto is actually finally looking like a good pick. He's also finally looking like a good player. Like, we know how good Neto could be. I think he was still hampered by his long-term injury last season, but now he looks back to his best self. But he's still not really an FPL option, because we don't really target the players from the lesser teams like Wolverhampton and potentially even Crystal Palace. That's sort of why I sold Eze as well, because they play for like one of the like, Crystal Palace are not a bad team, but they're also not a dominant team that are going to create chances every game. So Eze is definitely someone you should target for specific fixtures, and that's why I shouldn't have sold him for this game week. But buying him until they get better fixtures is also probably not the best idea. But yeah, game week 5 he has a tough away fixture, but then game week 6 again he has a pretty good home fixture. So maybe you could get Eze for that game week. I know he rotates pretty well with Awoniyi, for example, where they can play every other game week, and then you have another good striker on your books as well. But yeah, huge game for SA, huge game for Edouard with 2 goals. He might be breaking through as well. I think he's only 5.5 as a striker, which is a really good price. So that may be a cut price striker you want to get as well if you want to get the likes of Salah or Son into your team, or potentially Trent coming up. So yeah, those are some players that you could target. The Crystal Palace players, they got the win in the end, deservedly so. And Hodgson can celebrate having, I think, 7 points so far, or 6 points. I don't know. They're doing pretty well for themselves so far, Crystal Palace. And then moving on, we have the final game of the weekend and the highlighted game of the weekend, and that was Arsenal against Man United. Always a fun fixture, and this fixture was no different. Really fun, interesting game in general. Arsenal looked to be the better side, but then Man United took the lead when Rashford scored again against Arsenal, as he usually does. He cut in from the wing and scored a really nice shot. I think it was pretty poor defending from Arsenal, especially from Saliba, who pretty much always gets away with it because he's like the next Van Dijk, I guess people are saying and stuff. But I think he could have done much better for the goal, because both him and Ben White were sort of covering Rashford, but Ben White was the closest player to Rashford. He sort of pressed Rashford, but couldn't really go all the way. But Saliba could have easily blocked off the far post for Rashford and made Rashford not shoot it, the far post. So not the best defending from Saliba, but yeah, like I said, he is like the talk of the town at the moment, so he's gonna get away with it. And same can be said about Bukayo Saka as well, who potentially could have been sent off because he had a pretty reckless challenge where he hits the legs of Fernandes, I think, which was pretty nasty, hit his ankles pretty hard, but ended up just being a yellow card for Saka. So yeah, he got away with that, and Lindelof sort of got away with a kick almost to the head of Martinelli as well in the first half. So yeah, several controversial decisions there. Havertz also got a penalty that was overturned because he sort of just tripped himself into Wan-Bissaka, as it turned out. So probably the right decision, but I think it's pretty difficult. It was kind of similar to what Rashford got a penalty last week, but at the same time, not as similar because this was more the case of Havertz running into Wan-Bissaka rather than last week when Rashford was ran into by the opposing player. I can't remember which player it was last game week, but yeah. But then also Man United seemed to have gotten the lead 2-1. Garnacho was passed through by Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes had a really poor game in general, but he had the pass for Garnacho, which could have been an assist, but it turned out it was barely offside, so goal disallowed. Game is going towards being 1-1, but then right at the end, Declan Rice, back post, takes the ball down from a Saka corner, slots it home. Easily worth all the money. Declan Rice, he's a fantastic player. I know West Ham fans, I'm a West Ham fan, and I love him still, but I know a lot of West Ham fans are either apathetic towards him or they kind of grown a dislike for him now for some reason. But yeah, I think he's brought so much to West Ham. He brought several top 10 finishes, Europa League, Magic Nights, Conference League trophy, 105 million, which got us Alvarez, Kudus, and James Ward-Prowse. I don't see a reason to be mad at Rice at all, and especially Arsenal fans have no reason to be mad at Rice because he's been so good so far. Compared to Caicedo, who made a massive mistake which led to Chelsea losing against Nottingham Forest, Declan Rice steps up and scores the winning goal against Man United in one of the biggest moments and fixtures of the season. So well worth the money, Declan Rice. And then Gabriel Jesus turned up with a really nice goal towards the end as well. Really nice pass from Fabio Vieira, who definitely should play ahead of Havertz because Havertz still looks awful and Vieira looks really good whenever he gets the chance. So yeah, I still think Havertz and Ramsdale should be dropped from Arsenal with Vieira and Raya coming in starting for them. But yeah, when it comes to Man United, they didn't have the worst game to be honest, but they didn't really have the best game either. They're struggling to create a lot of chances, not the best expected goal numbers here. I think if you have both Rashford and Fernandes, you could potentially move one of them to Son. It's going to be hard to nail down who is the better pick out of Rashford and Fernandes. They both have their strengths and weaknesses, but yeah, I think having both is kind of overkill when you have the likes of Son, who is going to be a really nice player to have going forward. So yeah, I think you should sell one of them. But one Man United to take note of is Rasmus Højlund, who came on in the second half and looked really good. He was a handful and a half, if that's the saying, against Gabriel Magalhaes, who's one of the strongest defenders in the league. So yeah, Højlund looks really good. Nice link-up play. He's a really good striker. He hasn't scored that many goals in the Serie A and stuff previously, but he has all the talent in the world, and he's really young, and he showed a lot of promise in this game as well. So he's definitely someone to take note of as well. Another striker you should pay attention to. And that leads us to the final section of this video, and that is stock going up and stock going down. In terms of players that are more interesting now, it is Alvarez, who still looks like he's going to be pretty nailed. He has the second most minutes out of all the forwards so far in FPL. That should tell you something. Alvarez is a big favorite of Pep Guardiola, especially when Kevin De Bruyne is not available, and he's not going to be available for the rest of the year, basically. So I think Alvarez is really good value. Evan Ferguson has to start up front for Brighton. Going forward, he is having a breakout year. He's only 5.9 FPL. He's also someone with the stock going up. And then Heung-min Son, playing as the striker, gets him in so much better positions. He was the Golden Boot winner 2 seasons ago. We know what he can do. He's potentially on penalties as well. So yeah, Son is also definitely someone you should pay attention to. When it comes to stock going down, I'm a bit harsh on Fernandes because he had like a poor game, but yeah, in like tougher matches, I feel like Bruno Fernandes will struggle. That's sort of like a reputation he has, that he's struggling in big matches. But I think it just comes down to like the talisman of the team. Like when you have guys like Fernandes and Maddison and Eze, when their team struggles, they sort of struggle. Unlike players like Rashford or Watkins or Bukayo Saka, for example, they are still sort of like one-on-one players. They don't really need the team around them to be good to be good FPL assets. But guys like Fernandes and stuff need good fixtures. So yeah, you have a decision to make between Fernandes or Rashford, who you want to keep if you have both still. I feel like maybe Fernandes is the one you drop since Rashford is looking better on the left. But yeah, I don't know. Fernandes had this big hole last game week 3. But both those goals one of them was from a penalty, and the other one came straight after a free kick that he had. So he hasn't really shown that much from open play so far, and maybe Rashford is the better pick out of the two. I'm not sure yet. And yeah, if you want to get someone like Son, you could potentially sell Fernandes to get him. I wouldn't sell Saka. Saka, by the way, I didn't mention that, but Saka had a huge chance to score. And obviously, if Havertz had gotten a penalty, it would have been most likely Saka to take it. So I think Saka is still a great option to have in FPL. I wouldn't sell Saka personally because, like I said, he doesn't really need his team to perform for him to have decent chances to score as well. But yeah, maybe I'm a bit too harsh on Fernandes there. But another player that I might be too harsh on is Nick Jackson, because he still has really good underlying numbers. And even though I say that his stock is going down, I don't really think that you should sell him, because he still has really good fixtures and has good underlying numbers. And he has really no competition for the striking place for Chelsea now that the transfer window has closed. But yeah, he's not a striker I would be looking to buy currently. If I didn't have him in my team already, I would rather go with someone like Alvarez or Ferguson, or potentially Avani as well up front, rather than Jackson. But yeah, Jackson really has to convert his chances. He's had 7 big chances and scored 1 of them so far. Had a huge miss from the pass from Sterling this game week, especially, in another situation where he didn't really control the ball properly. So yeah. Nick Jackson has a lot to prove so far. He has a lot to prove going forward as like the main striker for Chelsea. But good fixtures, good underlying numbers. No real reason to sell him just yet. But yeah, monitor him and keep a look at him for the next few game weeks where Chelsea still have some good fixtures. And then finally, Josko Guardiola didn't get to play from start against Fulham, so I don't know about his minutes. I was pretty high on Guardiola. Thought he was going to play a lot of matches at the start of the season. Because usually when Pep Guardiola buys a centre-back, he usually gives them a lot of playing time, but it seems like Ake is just too important to the team. Akanji seems too important to the team as well, especially with Stones coming back as well. I'm not sure about Guardiola's minutes going forward, so I would not be looking to get Guardiola. He is someone that I was potentially getting into my team, but now that his playing time is kind of under threat and Man City keep conceding stupid goals, I'm just not that interested really. But yeah, that concludes this weekend walkthrough. I hope you liked this video. It lasted about 34 minutes still, so even though I tried to keep it sort of brief, it's still a lot to talk about. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you subscribe for more, and yeah, I'll see you on Thursday when I do the FPL Scope podcast with Kevin, and then next week I'm gonna have some really interesting videos exploring some like deeper things and some things that I've noticed in FPL so far. But yeah, that's it for this time. See you around. Bye.